Now that I've given at least preliminary answers to those questions, let me talk about the two theories that we're contrasting in this presentation. And those are moral relativism and moral realism. Moral relativism is the theory that all moral claims are relative to something. Or you might say the answers to all moral questions are relative to something. The easiest way to explain this, in some ways, is to contrast it with moral realism. Okay. Moral realism says there is some standpoint that we can access, right, from which we can say that certain moral claims are simply true. And they are true for all people, in all cultures, in all times, and all places. So if someone asks the question, is it ever acceptable to kill babies for fun? A moral realist is going to say there's potentially answers to that question. Let's say the answer, no, it is never right to kill a baby for fun. And that answer applies to all people in all cultures, in all times, in all places. A moral relativist would say there is no such standpoint. Right? What we have, now they disagree about what it's relative to. So a cultural relativist would say different cultures have different moral systems. Right? So we could say, according to the culture of 21st century America or early 21st century America, it would always be wrong to kill an innocent child for fun. But there may be or may have been some cultures where that was acceptable. And if we find out that there were some cultures in which that was acceptable, that's all we have to say. Our culture says that it's wrong, their culture says that it's not wrong, and there is no higher standpoint from which to evaluate the differences. Right? There's no way to say one of those cultures got the question right and one of those cultures got the question wrong. Okay. Now, relativists differ about what they think morality is relative to. Right? It could be culture, it could be relative to individuals, it could be relative to time period, right? To period in history, etc. Right? It could be relative to some combination of these. What distinguishes relativists from realists is that relativists hold, right, that it is never possible to have a universal standpoint, right, from which we can say that some moral claims are true for all times and all places and all cultures.